contrast to the previous two reviews, One Punch Man is a fairly recent anime, although it's 7 years old now, good lord, that I happened to watch when it came out. Now, One Punch Man is superb in almost every aspect. The writing, direction, animation, and soundtrack are all fantastic. However, in spite of all this greatness, I think One Punch Man benefited inordinately from the time in which it came out. Recall, at this time, the Avengers had been out for a few years, and it really cemented superhero films as a cultural mainstay, and they were doing all sorts of spin-offs and sequels and stuff like that. And then at around the same time, One Punch Man came along, which sort of poked fun at the superhero genre quite heartily in a good-spirited way, rather than making it seem stupid. Serendipity aside, One Punch Man is quite capable of standing on its own merits, of which there are many. However, of these many merits, I feel that the two most important are its ability to effectively generate comedy and pathos, and indeed to be able to do so often back-to-back. So, while the many instances of the main character Saitama smacking around a city-stomping monster or having to defend his reputation against angry mobs come to mind, I think there are two particular instances that best encapsulate the range of emotions that One Punch Man addresses. The best instance of comedy in my mind occurs in episode 3. Saitama and Genos are in the midst of taking on the House of Evolution. Between the two of them, they've already wiped out all but one of the genetically engineered monstrosities. Only the incredibly dangerous and unstable Carnage Kabuto remains, and its reputation is fearsome. At first, Saitama is only concerned because the monster had pummeled Genos into resembling modern art, but as the monster begins to rampage in earnest, Saitama seems to realize that he might have bit off more than even he can chew. The resolution comes when Saitama declares that the source of his distress is that he's currently missing a sale at the grocery store rather than the monster stands any serious chance of beating him. He unceremoniously slaughters Carnage Kabuto with one punch, and he and Genos scurry off in hopes of making the sale. While there are many cases of Saitama killing a monster with little effort, I feel that Carnage Kabuto is unique in that Saitama seems to be admitting defeat before securing victory, even if the nature of that defeat is somewhat unrelated to the monster in question. The best instance of pathos, however, occurs in Episode 9. To set the scene, the Deep Sea King has annihilated every hero on his path thus far, from B-class heroes like Lightning Max to S-class heroes like Genos. It's not to say Genos was especially important, since his whole thing seems to be getting smacked down by the monster that Saitama then effortlessly kills. But taking it from the perspective of an ordinary citizen, having an S-class hero, even the weakest among them, so to speak, be fairly effortlessly stomped by a monster has got to be a scary prospect. So at this point, the only thing standing between the citizenry and certain death is the paragon of justice, C-class hero Moomin Rider. He is undeniably and hopelessly outmatched, and even the Deep Sea King doesn't think highly enough of him to kill him outright. But no matter how much the Deep Sea King batters him around and beats him relentlessly, Moomin Rider rises again. He's eventually beaten so badly that only the collective cheers of a crying child and then the whole crowd of citizens give him the strength to stand back up. A passing knowledge of tropes might suggest that through sheer force of will, Moomin Rider might now have the power to fight on even terms, but this is not the case. Moomin Rider is now beaten beyond being able to fight any longer, but his sacrifice has bought enough time for Saitama to arrive and defeat the monster. This diverges from what we normally get from One Punch Man in that Moomin Rider's experience is that of the everyman when placed in such a situation. But this experience is only felt fully when it's contrasted with the ease at which Saitama resolves things. It's this contrast between highs and lows, comedy and pathos, that makes One Punch Man worth watching, regardless of its relevance as satire of the current cultural zeitgeist. See you, Space Cowboy.